Greetings and welcome to episode 3 of the Convos in the Park podcast. I'm your host Dorian, and before we get started, I have to say rest in peace to Little Richard, Andre Harrell, and Betty Wright. All three were innovators in black music and were an inspiration to so many. Thank you for listening, and this podcast can be found anywhere you listen to your podcast, as well as the YouTube channel by searching for Convos in the Park. First, I would like to send a big shout out and thank you to all the essential workers who are putting their lives on the line during this pandemic. So to all the people in the medical field, delivery drivers, grocery store workers, cable internet, satellite technicians, and anyone else that is working during this chaos, thank you, and please keep yourselves safe. Even though a lot of states are slowly starting to open back up, please remember social distancing, wear the proper PPE, and wash your hands. As I'm sure many of you have seen the rise in active cases and deaths, this is no joke. To my black people listening, please do not take this as a joke. We can contract it. It seems we never take things seriously until it hits close to home. So please, please, please stay safe out there. With that being said, on to the next topic. If you've been following the news or your familiar social media outlets, I'm sure you heard about the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. The outright modern-day lynching of this brother is a sad case of the systemic racism that continues to plague this country and our society. This young brother was just jogging and made a stop at a home that was being constructed, chased by two vigilantes and shot without probable cause. The worst thing out of this is that they arrested his killers only after the videos went viral on social media, and now the so-called reasons they used to kill him are falling apart. In my opinion, there are bigger things in play here. The McMichaels, to which Gregory McMichael was a former police officer, felt that Ahmaud was a quote-unquote suspect of robberies in the neighborhood, was later found out based on the videos and statements from the homeowner whose house was being constructed to be false. With him being a former police officer, he should not have felt it was his responsibility to apprehend Ahmaud if he thought he was a suspect. Gregory, his son Travis, and the man recording the murder should have been arrested a long time ago. It's sad that they were only arrested because of public outcry and not due diligence of the Brunswick County Police Department. It's just another example of the injustice people of color receive in America. Racism is alive and no longer being concealed. All of the videos of police brutality and the differences between how white suspects and people of color are treated shows this country needs a change and fast. It's a shame that since I was young, blacks had to train kids young in how to deal with police when we should all be treated equal in the eyes of the law and the justice system. If justice is truly blind, then that blindfold needs to become mirror-tinted ASAP. It upsets me that I worry for my daughters even having to come into contact with police because I'm scared for their lives. The worst thing I fear is that eventually, once more black people show resistance and take arms, that it will be exactly what those in power who fear people of color will want to destroy our population more than they are doing now. I hope and pray that true justice will be found for Ahmaud's family, but recent history proves otherwise. This all leads to ownership of actions. We are always quick to find an excuse or a fallback of our actions instead of owning our shortcomings or devious intentions. It's sad that they tried to hide or cover up the killing as citizens' arrest when videos clearly show they followed and killed Ahmaud. If you did not want a young black man to be around in your neighborhood, I would respect it more if they just came out and said that, and to say they witnessed him stealing when nothing was shown in his hands just makes it worse. Again, my prayers and condolences go out to Ahmaud's family and friends. He's another life that was cut short senselessly. I do want to stay on the ownership for a minute, though. Ownership is a rare trait that is shown by great leaders and stand-up individuals. It's easier for people to stand by their good decision, but far worse for someone to admit that they were wrong and made a bad decision without a major excuse. Now, I'm not saying that there are not valid excuses given the situation, but only the valid excuses, in my opinion, are those in which you absolutely have no control over, like Mother Nature in the most extreme cases. When I was in the Marine Corps, it was looked down upon if an MCO, a non-commissioned officer for those unfamiliar, tried to come up with excuses for decisions that they made. In the worst case, a bad decision can lead to loss of life in the battlefield. It was more respected if you just admitted that you messed up. In the 10 years that I was a leader in the military, I would honestly admit to every shortcoming I had or bad decision I made because at the end of the day, every right-minded person knows exactly what they are doing. Even with my current job of being a supervisor, I have to own up to decisions that I make. If I tell one of my employees to do something wrong, not only am I setting a bad example, but best believe if that employee is on the line of losing their job, they're throwing me under the bus quickly. If I fail to do something, I have someone to answer to. Even in a relationship, you have someone to answer to and have to have ownership in your decisions. There's never a good excuse for cheating, because whether you lack something in your current relationship and you choose to find it in someone else, you are making that decision and have to own up to it when it's either discovered or you are confronted by your significant other. We don't even have to leave it at just cheating. Even the smallest things like choosing to ignore your significant other's texts or calls without explanation, not expressing your feelings, failing to communicate, or not taking care of your responsibilities, we all have something to own up to. But I would like to hear of any situations where you either had to take ownership of something or a tale of someone else not taking ownership for their actions. You can send your responses to convosinthepark@gmail.com or send a message via Facebook, or even you can leave them in the comments when you listen to this podcast. All right, now that we got the serious stuff and I guess you could say the somber stuff out of the way, I would like to share a story. Pretty much this story is going to be about how I was a side dude and I didn't even know it. All right, so back in 2003, I was stationed at Quantico while I was in the Marine Corps. And because, Quantico is so close to New York, I would go back and visit every other weekend just to visit with my parents or to just hang out with some of my friends back in New York. As I went to New York back on a random weekend, I was hanging out with one of my close buddies that I met while I was working at Old Navy. Now, when I was working at Old Navy, I had a supervisor that I was really cool with and used to flirt with each other after I quit there and moved back to Alabama. So during that weekend, as I was hanging out with my buddy, he told me that he was in touch with our old supervisor and that she wanted to see me, once he told her that, I was coming around and hanging out with him. So he finally set it up and we both went to pick her up and, just hang out for a bit. As soon as we pulled up to a block, she hopped in the car and told me to drive off because her boyfriend was is the jealous type. Sign number one. So after that initial hangout, I stayed in touch with her and visited New York a couple more times, just to spend some time with her. It would be me, her, and my buddy just hanging out, and my buddy being the instigator, he would always joke about how she liked me and whenever we were hanging out. And of course, being her, she would always tell him to shut up. Now, eventually, me and her would just, kick it by ourselves a little bit more and more. There was even one time when she wanted me to come up to New York, but I told her I ain't had the money to make the trip. So she decided that she'd pay my way up there to come to New York and back to Quantico. Back then, I was surprised and I thought I made a come up. Actually, this was sign number 2. If we went to the movies or if we went somewhere to go eat, she would always pay. Which at the time, I didn't really have too much of a problem with that. Like I said, it wasn't money coming out of my pocket. There was even one time when me, her, and my buddy and his brother were all hanging out downtown Brooklyn. And we went, I believe it was P.C. Richards. And before all of us went in, she went in first. And then, we said, me and my buddy and his brother, we would stand outside and smoke and talk or whatever. So once she saw that, I was hanging back, she decided tell me, you don't smoke. And of course, me trying to please her, I listened. So once my buddies, got done smoking, we went ahead and went inside the store. Once she notices that we in the store, here she comes rushing up to me and she kisses me. Now, that being said, this was the first and the last time that we kissed. Knowing all the while that she did that just to make sure that I wasn't smoking. But later on down the line, we continued to talk. I continued to hang out with her. But after a while, I really started to feel her. So I asked her, I was like, so why are you, dealing with me and hanging out with me, and spending this money when you got a boyfriend? And she went on to say that, she lived with him. It was hard for her to leave and came up with, all this other talk. And, that's when I realized that, Dorian, you are the side dude. You're her fun while she's having issues with her boyfriend. And that's something that I didn't really think that I would be. So eventually, during the phone conversation, I told her, yo, if you're not going to break up with your boyfriend, then, we can't be, as much as I liked our friendship, we can't be doing this anymore. And with that being said, she went ahead and was like, she cut all ties with me from that point. I still have not heard from her to this day. And it's just one of those times where you live and you learn. But strangely enough, I enjoyed the time. And I guess that's kind of the thrill of someone being a side dude or the side chick. You know, they get what they want out of that person, and then they don't have to worry about anything else. And you have some that actually want more than that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But if anyone has any weird side chick or side dude stories that they would like to share, or, you know, even if you want to hear some advice from me, again, you can go ahead and send those emails to convosatthepark@gmail.com. Again, convosinthepark@gmail.com. That is all one word. You never know. It might be the one that might end up on the podcast. I know this is a shorter episode, but I really did have to get some of those things across. I probably could have put it out for another one, but I do want to practice consistency going forward. So you'll be able to catch a new episode every week. I will record on Sundays and have them up no later than Wednesday. Again, I do want to thank you for taking time out for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode. Are you in that convo yet? Why not? Peace.